Because, see, we can pray. Let me just give you an example. I have prayed for opportunities to preach sermons in different locations. For me. For me. Yes, I wanted to preach the gospel. Yes, I wanted to but it was for me. It was so that I could get up there and make connections or be important. Or I've prayed that. Are y'all okay?
We get it.
Y'all okay? I've prayed that, but that was for me. It was. That was a selfish motivation. And you know what? I didn't get to preach. Amen? Because God's not going to do that. He's not going to hear my selfish prayer and put me up there for my own benefit. Now, on the flip side of things, I've gotten opportunities to preach in places that I never asked for. Because God needed me to do that. You understand?
Amen.
You understand your pastor was the first man to ever speak at the State Women's Conference. I didn't ask for that. They called me. So, God does those things. But we have to be able to discern what our pride and what our selfishness is like. Why? Because it says this. At the time Jesus prayed this prayer, O Father, Lord of heaven and earth, thank you for hiding these things from those who think themselves wise and clever. What was he hiding? The revelation of God. He was hiding his revelation from those people. Why? Because he wanted to reveal it to those who were childlike. Childlike. Not childish. There's a difference in being childish and being childlike. And we can preach a sermon on being childish as well. Amen? But to those who are childlike, God reveals His revelation to you. He hides it from those who think themselves wise and clever. You got it all figured out? Ask yourself, do you have it all figured out? If you're looking for revelation, we have got to eliminate the first thing is pride and selfishness. Those are the roadblocks to revelation. So God reveals Himself. This is how He does it. He reveals Himself to those who have a childlike faith. Amen? Amen. Okay. We are in position for revelation when we are childlike before God. This is what Mark 10 and 15 says. Unless you become as little children, you cannot enter the kingdom of heaven. Y'all remember that story? Where Jesus said, you know, don't push the little kids away, because unless you become one like them, you can't enter the kingdom of heaven. The disciples, you know, they had some roadblocks up here. You know, just a bunch of fishermen and all these other guys. You know, they were like me. They could throw a hay bale a country mile, but they couldn't figure out 2 plus 2. You know what I'm saying? So they had some issues here. But He said, don't stop them from coming to me, because unless you also become as a child, you cannot even enter the kingdom of heaven. So what is that word? That word is sanctification. What does it mean to become childlike? It means to become, everybody, I want everybody to say this. Say sanctification.
Sanctification.
Now, don't you feel smarter now that you've said that word? More intelligent? Don't you feel more spiritual and theological? Sanctification. Sanctification. To become childlike means we sanctify ourselves. And this is not a word that we speak of often in church lingo anymore. Why? Because most people don't get it. Sanctification. There's 2 elements to sanctification. So this is where we're headed. The first is to become more Christ-like. Obviously, to be sanctified, or the sanctification process, means that you're becoming more like Christ. I mean, that pretty much makes sense, right? I mean, this is not rocket science. If Christ is sanctifying us, then we are becoming more like Him. So it's to become more Christ-like. Don't you want to love like Him and act like Him and talk like Him and pray like Him and dream like Him?
Amen.
That is the process of sanctification. It's nothing spooky or like super spiritual or anything like that. The sanctification process is becoming more like Christ. The more we dream like Him and love like Him and act like Him and talk like Him, the more sanctified we become. Right? Right. It's a process of sanctification. Now, we get to some places in our lives where we have a sanctified attitude, which is a whole different thing, where we are always right, we are never wrong, we know everything. Right? We have become too sanctified to be any earthly good. Amen? It's the process of sanctification. The second element, recapture the wonder. Now, I know you're wondering about what in the world this means. It means to recapture the wonder. God fills our souls with wonder at His majesty. He fills our souls with wonder at His majesty. How many of you are wondrous about God? I mean, does God like make you wonder? Yes. Does He make you sit in awe of His majesty? Amen? Let me tell you about the day the stars fell. Unsaved, I was talking about me now. Unsaved, not living a good life, etc., etc., etc. On my farm, where I grew up over in the Shenandoah Valley, on my farm we had this huge hill that we would sleigh ride down. I've told you those stories 100 times. But many summer nights on that farm, I would take my four-wheeler and I would go to the top of that big hill. It was one of the highest points in my little area. And I would just sit up there and look at the stars. You know what I mean? I don't know if y'all are stargazers. I don't really follow astrology. I don't know any of the signs or anything like that. I know where the Big Dipper is. But I would sit up there and just look at the stars in wonder. I love stars. I think they are some of the most beautiful, amazing things that God created. But there was a time that I didn't really understand that God had created them. You follow? So this particular night, the night that the stars fell, the day that the stars fell, I remember hearing on the radio that there was a shower, a meteor shower, something that was supposed to take place that evening. And so, being home, being of young age, you know, all those kinds of things, that particular night I didn't have a lot to do. So I got on my four-wheeler and I went out to my dad's farm and I went up on this hill, this big hill, and I waited. And the stars are beautiful. It was a bright, clear sky. The moon was gorgeous. The temperature was perfect. Everything was just wonderful, you know? It was wonderful. And then I started seeing all these orange streaks just shooting across the sky. I mean, it was just, and then it got more rapid, and then it got more intense. And it blew my mind that I could see that far into the sky. I mean, you do realize how far these things are away. I mean, thousands and thousands of miles these things are in the sky. And our eyes can see that. Now, some of you can't read the book in front of you. Amen? But when you look up to the heavens, you can see the stars. You can see the sun, which is the center of our universe. You can see the moon. Amen? You can see those things. You might not be able to see the book in front of you or read the words in front of you, but you can see into heaven. Are y'all following me this morning?